go. But however, we are jumping now to talk about the office of the Ombudsman. And we're glad to have Councillor Finley Kangar. He's been a very notable steward in the country. He's one of the aspirant in one of the senatorial elections in Maserado. I remember then he was very firm on some of the issues, wanted to do things differently, and but he didn't have the chance to serve Liberia then. But he's now in another role, uh, serving as a surveillance police to checkmate violators of the code of conduct. That is a public document. So we have the honor to welcome to our studios Councillor Finley Kangar. Councillor, welcome, and you can just draw close to the microphone a little bit. Yeah, so just a little bit. Okay, so you just draw, yeah, just get closer. Okay, yeah, so Councillor, you can go on.
Thank you.
Okay, so welcome to Cllr Radio 95 for now.
Thank you. And being in the studio gave me a sad memory for my brother, Amos, who is among those who helped to establish the entity.
Okay.
And he's not here. I'm in the studio. It's a beautiful place. So thank you for inviting me. I pray that God, like He had done with other people, making the lesson place.
Yeah, we all mourn the passing of Mr. Sibo. Though I didn't see him, but when I came, I heard so many great things about him, how he helped to build the institution that we have now. So it's on his sweat that we are surviving today. And so our sympathy to you and the entire BB family. We hope that you all take solace. I know it's been hard to really cope with, but that is it. But we can enter into the discussion. Who is Mr. Kangar? Shortly, just a few minutes. A lot of people know you. You've been a very critical lawyer from the time I've known you. Maybe the public will want to know who is Mr. Kangar just in 1 minute, and then we can jump into the discussion.
Well, thank you. And good evening to your listener. Considering that it's my first time in the studio, I know you have certain follower who like to listen to your radio and your program.
Okay.
My name is Finley. My mother calls me Finley.
What does that mean?
When they're saying that Finley is a boy, so she usually says ball Finley.
Oh, okay. That is the Congo way of saying it.
So she said that, and over time, I am a librarian, a teacher, and currently I'm working with the government of the people of Liberia.
Because I want to be a little bit audible in that.
So, yes, actually, you understand the situation I found myself in, my brother.
Okay.
And I'm just thinking about him as we have it. I was just taking a photo as I actually sat there. So,
okay.
I'm in not my usual mood,
considering. Yeah, because I know you to be a firebrand. So, I mean, to see you, you know.
So, so that is who I am. Currently, I serve as a team member of the Office of the Ombudsman. My title is chairman. Two of my colleagues are the Honorable Lamin Bako and Monia Martin. So together we, along with our team, we administered the Code of Conduct that was established 2024.
Okay.
That had basically two major enhancements. The 2017 enhancement of the law and that of the 2022 enhancement. So the Code of Conduct is a document that set principles, ethical principles for all of us to follow, including you who sit right there.
Okay.
And including me who is also on the other side. as a way in order to promote good governance within our country. And that's why it is. I don't think I have more to say than myself, except to say that I am a public servant and I am required to live by that. I should work within the public interest.
Okay, and so let's look at the office of the ombudsman. It was created not, but this government is the government who brought it to full-fledged functioning. It was established by the former president, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, but it didn't get any active until this president came to power. Let's look at your work. How is the work there at the office?
Well, it's challenging,
Okay.
considering that the staff, including me, we develop a mode that's called learning and adapting.
Okay.
Because the entity is new, and so we are learning while at the same time we are adapting principles and procedures as a way to get the office running. Today we have an office space now that is on the Countertown back road. We have a little small team that we are actually staffing up, and alongside that, we are developing a website as a way to stay engaged with our stakeholder. We have the social media page uh, that's for Ombudsman Liberia, and also an X page, Instagram page, all called the Ombudsman Liberia. So that makes it easier in order to interact with us. And what do we do at the office? Um, the office basically does four things. One is to investigate
Okay.
complaint
Mm.
on allegation of violation of the code of conduct. Is to monitor the adherence of the principle of the code of conduct, and is to provide oversight in terms of the code implementation and to evaluate. So four major things we are actually doing at the office. Today, we have received a number of cases.
I was just about to ask you whether people are
Um,
complaining to the office of the ombudsman.
so much today before coming here. Like an hour, we had a complaint from either that's in Kakata, we have had a complaint from Maryland, we had a complaint from this Liberian.
The,
Appreciate.
the office is small, and I hear you talk about you have complaint from this county and that county. How do you spread your legal tentacles, to looking into those cases across and as they come from across the countries?
Well, it's good to know that the office of the ombudsman, being a law enforcement entity,
Okay.
has a function in order to operate as a covert institution. And so we have people uh, in government places, in the private sector, supporting the work of the ombudsman. And how do they do that? There are three ways by which you can interact with the office for complaint. One, you can do a complaint that we call a general complaint,
Okay.
and you can use the whistleblower protection law to file a matter for the court. I mean, for the ombudsman. And the ombudsman themselves can take all matters that are in public, that they consider to be within the public interest. And so those are the way we take on matters, three ways. Uh, because of that, we have a number of matters before us today. Some are complaints, some are whistleblower, and some are self-initiated. We But 2 weeks ago, we came up with judgment that under the code, the word judgment is not used. It's reports.
Okay.
So there were basically two reports. One was it was a matter that was brought to our attention by a police officer Owo, versus Liberia National Police, and there he claimed that the Liberia National Police actually refused to pay his salary,
Okay.
and the police have argued that they suspended him, and because of that, he's not going to take pay. And so, as a result, the investigation will form that the police was in violation of the police duty manual, and then along with the police law that establishes national police. And so we ordered the police to pay Officer Howard uh, 40 months in salary arrear. We hope the police will do that. Being a lawyer,
So in the case where the police refuses to adhere to your report and your ruling, what do the office do?
so we are an administrative agency and we function under administrative law. Now, if there is a judgment that you call a report from the office of Ombudsman,
Mhm.
there's a time lag. Once that time elapses, that judgment can be enforced to the court.
Okay.
Yeah, so the court can enforce that judgment, and the officer is going to actually get his pay. I'm sure the police will do that. We had a conversation with the Honorable Gregory
Coma.
Coleman.
Okay.
We had a fun conversation. So we think that is going to be done. Now, another matter we dealt with was they are got to do with the Liberia the National Fishery and
Aquaculture
Aquaculture
Authority.
Authority,
NAFA.
yeah, NAFA. And it was a matter that basically brought to our attention, and in which the claimant in there, they said that they were maltreated, malhandled by the leadership. That is it, the director, or the two deputy director, who violated the rights of the employees in there, along with violation of Section 5.1 A, B, and C of the Code of Conduct. And so, having conducted the investigation, we found a three-person liable and adjudged them, you know, with different penalties.
Okay.
So one of the commissioner there, which is deputy, he um, did not actually behave well in terms of the code of conduct. The matter brought before his attention to deal with it. He failed to do that. As a way, the failure actually led to the violation of the code of conduct. It's actually expected of all public officials in the government at all times to work within the public interest. And so if there's a matter that is actually brought before you by a junior staff, you are on duty in order to do that. The code actually allow you to handle the matter in ways that will promote the public interest instead of a violation of that. And so because we found that violation, we held uh, those who were actually responsible culpable, and then we coordinate a judgment. So, for example, one of the deputy director there uh, was a judge for 3 months suspension.
Uh-huh.
And
Where do these recommendations go?
to what we refer to as the competent authority.
Okay. Where is that?
So, a competent authority for NAFAC is the president office.
Okay.
Yeah. So we then adjudged for 3 months suspension, and after that suspension, considering what we find, we have then ordered that the director then will have to undergo an ethics training at the Liberia Institute of Public Administration. And while he's undergoing that training, he is paid for that out of pocket. And if the Liberia Institute of Public Administration does not actually have that training, they should they being ordered in order to organize a special training for him,
Okay.
so that he will understand the ethics and the principle of the civil service code, and that what is actually provided in the personal minor of NAFA, and that of the code of conduct. We think he doesn't know that, and so he will actually go through that. For the head of the agency, the director general, was a judge in blatant violation of multiple counts of the human resource manual of NAFA, along with certain division of the civil service code and that of the decent work act, along um, with the code of conduct. And because of that, we felt that it would be in the public interest that should be dismissed for the public service as a way to promote the interest of the entity, because you cannot be in multiple violation of that kind. So the competent authority has been duly informed to implement that.
Okay, your work I see is a Herculean task you have to making sure. I mean, it extends to even government officials going in time to work and leaving in time as being prescribed by the Decent Work Act. So you have ministers, deputy ministers, directors who go to work randomly. What are you doing? What is the office of the ombudsman doing? Because there are some ministers who go to work after 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and 2 o'clock they clock in and they're out of the office.
So 2 days ago, um, a deputy minister, two deputy ministers at the Ministry of Public Works were fined for violation of the code of conduct. One of the counts in there is where you talk about
Okay.
being late at public function, and so because of that, they were fined. But it's a good thing that those two deputy ministers, as we have the conversation, they are actually paid a fine within the general revenue account of the government. So they are in compliance today. And so it's a serious thing.
Okay.
Government official or employees of government are to report to duty on time. And by duty, it means if you were to go to a meeting, you must go and be at that meeting on time. If it was to be a conference that you had to attend, you had to go and be on time. You cannot use the weather condition to say it's raining. That's why I came late. No, we're not do that. You cannot say I do not have transportation facilities, so I did not come on time. No, you are committing violation of code of conduct. It is required that a public servant, which is referred to as an ordinary public servant, that's tender that the code has, is the public servant who, if he's going to be late, he or she is going to ensure that the supervisor is going to be informed about the lateness, so that the supervisor is going to make provision for that. It is also anticipated that an ordinary civil servant is going to be that civil servant that is going to comply with all laws of the land, including those laws that govern the profession of his career. So if he was a journalist, he actually is on duty in order to apply by all the journalistic code. If he was a teacher or a doctor or an engineer, whatever profession you are in, the code requires you in order to live in obedience to the rules and regulations of that profession. The violation of that actually amounts to the violation of the code. And the people do not want that. That's not going to promote good governance, fairness, integrity, and accountability. So that's how the code actually sees it. So those who are fined, right, by the Office of Ombudsman, a good number of them have actually paid their fines in government revenue, and they have actually made provided evidence to the office. We think that is good. You saw a number of persons who were actually suspended for the violation of the code of conduct because they failed to declare the asset. Now, I'm using the public mind to encourage all those who have not actually declared the asset to do that.
Okay.
Those who have not signed the code of conduct to try to sign the code of conduct, because that could be the next thing for which you are going to actually be penalized under Section 15 of the code. Your failure to sign the code of conduct could actually lead you to bear penalty under Section 15 of the code. Try to sign the code of conduct. Once you have signed the code of conduct, make sure you deposit that with the human resource person within your entity. If you have questions, you can call the Office of Ombudsman, and we will be willing to help you through to make sure you comply with the regulation. If you're a lawyer and or you're an accountant or wherever you are, and you are going to perform service on behalf of the government, you know that you need to pay your lawyer's fee in time and pay the necessary fee to the government library in time. If you fail to do that, you might end up losing your job because you're going to be in violation of the code of conduct. It is anticipated that all the employees of government and officials who are drivers are required in order to have the driver license. Those vehicles, if you are using them, the vehicle need to be registered. You must try by all means that the vehicle is registered. You cannot be in the government vehicle that is not registered.
I mean, it's good that you brought that out because I was just about to ask you. There are a number of government vehicles, and Kevin, if you just want to ask a question, you can just chip in as well. there are a number of government vehicles that are at clubs, entertainment centers after working hours of government. That violates the code of conduct. I mean, I was reading a section there, and it prohibits people even taking charcoals or whatever in government vehicles for their personal use and all kinds of things. They talk about how government cars should not be at entertainment centers after the code of conduct is a very good document if Liberians take their time to read it. At first people say it was ambiguous, but I tried to look in it and I saw some meat in this particular area. Kangar, it brings me to the attention that not much is being done to curtail government vehicles being in the streets. I mean, they are not security vehicles; they are just ordinary vehicles. There's somebody working with finance and park their vehicle to a club, in the public glare on the main road, and they are there balling after working hours. They got the car. What is the Ombudsman doing? I mean, in regards to that.
Well, government properties is not limited to the vehicle.
Okay.
That includes the building that will be rented by the government of Liberia.
Mm.
It includes the phone that you have, like the phone you have right now.
Mm.
The money in the phone, in terms of the scratch card in the phone, right, that was provided to me by the government of Liberia. The fact that I've used my number and have actually used it to recharge, it means that I've actually given my number for public service. It should not be wrongly used, right?
Mm.
So the calls that I'm to make, these are calls that got to be professional calls because I've actually used government money in there. So that it goes to me. If you give your phone number and it's recharged by the government money, it means that you are actually giving your phone to be used for public goods. And you cannot then use that phone again for your private entertainment. So that is a government property. The units in there, the calling time in there, the data in there, they are not for the government. They are to only be used for the government purpose. If you want to use your phone for private purpose, you will not put government money in there.
Kangar, that is very, very difficult to distinguish one's money, personal money from government's money, especially when it comes to recharging.
That's why you are not to put the government money on your number. If you do that, it means you are transforming that phone for public service.
But if that is the case, then all of the people in government will be here liable for this.
And that's what those who are actually using government property. You're talking about government property.
Yeah. I mean,
give me one example.
Yeah, and that example is not actually 100% unique for the understanding of the ordinary people. Because if you say money in terms of data, credits, and whatever, then almost all the government officials are in violation because they use their personal phones and they put the money on the government money on it, and they do all kinds of things.
So that's what you do. So once you are transforming that phone to public use, it should be used for the public purpose, right? And so if you were to stay on that phone, for example, and you put a pornographic stuff on there, and it's reported, and there's an investigation, you are going to be held liable for misuse of the public property. Now, the government property is just not a phone or the data within there.
I was just making the analogy with the car.
Or even the pens, the stationaries that are bought by the government. You find it in the school, you find it in the hospital, wherever the government has the property. Those property have to be careful for those who are actually the custodian. If you are the warehouse manager, you have to manage those property in the property.
You know what I can say to you, Council? The office of the Ombudsman, I think you will need to start to blow the vuvuzela with government so that they can give you more money for the extension of the office of the Ombudsman. Maybe in every government institution you should have an agent, because guess what? The medicine that government procures end up in people private clinics, people private drugstores.
If you know anyone right now who took government medication or medicine from any of the government facility and they are in private facility, report that and we'll investigate them. We cannot do business that we did as before. We must change. Anyone who knows that, who would listen to me today, you report that and we are going to investigate that. So the government is going to investigate that. You cannot know of that. Even the government chairs. If Newport took chairs from JFK, or they took chair from the 14th Military Hospital, or they took government equipment from anywhere, you report that will liaise with the necessary law enforcement agency.
Yeah, the asset recovery team.
Yeah, you know that we work along with law enforcement.
Okay.
So people should see government property as the property, as though they own it. You know, exercise proper care for those property that are actually entrusted into them. It includes a vehicle. Now, I now have a vehicle assigned to me by the government library.
Okay.
That vehicle is not mine. I should make sure that if I'm driving, I drive very well. I do it with mine. I should not damage that vehicle. So if I'm leaving government, the vehicle is going to be turned over to the government and be used for the public good. It's not mine, but it needs to be careful.
Weekends, government vehicles are seen with government official children. They are, celebrating the cars and they are having fun in government cars or doing weekends. It happens almost everywhere in Liberia. It is a case study.
Well, that is an allegation. If you saw the government vehicle,
Councillor, are you telling us that you haven't seen a government vehicle being used by someone who is not working with government, like a government official, son or relative riding the public vehicle?
So I'll tell you something. I was driving towards Mount Bagley and I parked trying to get water to drink. And there was a government vehicle that had folks in it in the back.
Okay.
And I walked to the driver and said, "This is a government vehicle." He said, "No." He said, "You have to in the back, and you're even over the carry, right?" And I said, "I'm considered Kangar." He told me, "I'm sorry. I'm not going to do that anymore." He asked all of those that were in the car to please get up and they should find other vehicle. I thought that was a step in the right direction. So I'm not going to call him in today.
Ignorant to the law is no excuse. You should have been penalized. You should not allow him to go. Go with impunity. That is why this country look the way it is.
Indeed, I couldn't have a judge in guilty there. If I wanted,
you should have invited him to the office of the Ombudsman.
Should have been invited.
Okay.
And then be a judge, and then Councillor Quaco, along with Attorney Martin, would then take a decision. So I'm would have been the one
reporting the case. Yeah, you can be the same person judging.
I did not report that matter. Okay. Why I didn't report it? Right. I saw this individual, right, being apologetic for the wrong. And we spent 10 minutes discussing the code of conduct. I said, "Have you seen the code of conduct?" He said, "No, I've heard about it." I said, "Do you know that government property should be treated well?" He said, "Yes. But since I've been in government, we have not actually treated the property well. And this is why I treat it this way." And I told him it's now time.
And that was on the meetings, and you allowed that to slide.
I'm monitoring him. I know him right now.
Okay.
Right? So he's being monitored. Now, he's not the only one.
Yes, sir. Then
I was in Cllr and I had a conversation with the superintendent, and we're discussing how to actually manage government property in ways that will promote public good. I was in Basa the other day at the medical facility, and I saw how government property such as chairs were broken, or a lot were broken, and they were just in the corner, right? And we have not had time to report those to the GSA, so the GSA will be able to collect those broken chairs. I will try to repair them or probably put them off for auction so they can still be used, right? Now, it takes a lot of time to create awareness. You are helping us today. You are talking about government property. How can we actually manage that? Vehicle is just one of the things that government own in the country, right? And a lot of people see the vehicle because they are there. I'm telling you today that if you are using government vehicle to work, after work you go home. If you have other work to do, you do them, but it should be done in the public interest.
Okay.
There's a policy that's been developed. It's good that there's a policy and it's been developed. We are working along with the GSA to develop that policy. Once that policy is approved by the cabinet, right, all those who are going to be driving government vehicles will be given a permit by the GSA. And that permit, alongside your driver license, will be kept in the vehicle. And law enforcement officer will stop vehicle randomly to see if you have the permit. If you don't have that permit, right, the vehicle is going to be impounded and you are going to pay some fees before yes, it can release that to you. Where are you going to pay the fee? You're going to pay the fee in the government central revenue account. Now, if you were to give that vehicle to your daughter, she's not going to be on the permit. If you were to give that vehicle to your wife, her name is not going to be in the permit. So you are going to be in violation of the code of conduct and you are going to be penalized accordingly. We are hoping the policy can be done as fast as it is, as far as can be, such that we who are in government vehicle has been assigned to us will be able to get the necessary permit to make sure that we are in conformity with the code of conduct.
You want to ask a question quickly?
Yeah. Thank
Pause?
you, Councillor Kangar. I'm a bit concerned in terms of enhancing transparency and accountability. How is it like relative to monitoring and evaluating? Because I'm this concerned. Is there any monitoring system at the Ombudsman then to ensure that vehicle that is being seen in the street, being parked after work hours or working hours, can be reported?
Sure. So if you notice a vehicle is being and you believe it is actually being wrongly managed, or a government property for that matter, the building, a government building, or whatever government owns, if you think that's wrongfully managed, you have to document that. You could probably take a photo of it and you could write a letter to the office of the ombudsman. You could email that to us. Our email address is ombudsmanliberia@gmail.com. Over the next 2 or 3 weeks, we are going to have a dedicated email. It's going to be at info@ombudsman.gov.lr. So the ombudsman has a website and it's being fully sponsored by the government librarian.
Any citizen does that.
Any citizen can report, any organization can report, anyone librarian can report.
Let's look at your challenges quickly before we go to the lines to have interaction with the public. 6 o'clock is our full bulletin of news here. So we want to work in time. Let's look at your challenges with the kind of vast work you have to do, monitoring the entire country, not just Moserado. And some of the violations we're talking about is just very in Moserado, talking about what is happening in the counties and other stuff. What are the impediments? What are the things that you want the government to speed up on that will give you some teeth to bite?
The impediment to our work, librarian people, those who do not want to conform to the law. That's the greatest impediment we have today. I'm not going to tell you about money today. No. I'm not going to tell you that my office is small. No. I'm not going to tell you that I have a smaller staff. No. The librarian people are.
But do those things do those things exist?
Why is it that librarian people are our greatest impediment? Their inability to want to change. Have you gone to the court of recent to ask for an assignment? If you were to do that, you may cry. It's time to be thinking about reforming the code. Our code needs actually a reform. They're going to make the code be responsive to the changing time. Our people need to be able to afford the services of the court system. They need to be able to go in there, report a matter without paying money if you do not have to pay money. A lawyer needs to actually be at a place that he can easily charge a client to say, I'm charging you $200 because I'm going to pay $100 for tax. I'm going to pay $10 for this, and so that you have a definite fee. Today, our court system does not have that. Who is responsible for that? The librarian people. We need to be holding those who are really accountable. If we cannot hold them accountable, we're not even discuss that the court needs to be reformed. We need actually a major reform in the court system. Do you see corruption cases in the court? Do you see the delay in those cases? Do you know why that happening? Because the court just is not responsive to the needs of librarian people today. That's why the court needs reform. We need new laws in order to actually get the court to work in most effective and efficient ways. You cannot run a court system and a case go in the court and spend, you just do not know how long it's going to take. It's not predictable. You don't know what outcome you are going to have, and you just go before the court and you are crying and crying, you cannot get justice. That is actually against the code of conduct.
Okay.
Who is responsible to do that? The librarian people are our great impediment. We know who our leaders are accountable to do the things that will actually give for the service.
Okay, you're listening to Cllr Radio 95.9. On we are playing host to Councillor Finley Kangar. He's the head of the Office of the Ombudsman. We can now take your interactions. Maybe you have a question or suggestion, whatever you think you can ask, do questions to Councillor Kangar. You can now do that on 0770 573 477, 0770 573 477, 0881 871 670, 0770 573 477, 0881 871 670 are the numbers you can dial now to be a part of the program. Maybe you have a suggestion, a question or so, just few of them, because if we want to talk about the office of the ombudsman, we'll spend almost the entire day because their job is so vast. I was just thinking while you were answering that question, I was just thinking about how people uh, go to police stations and the police people make people to pay bail, to bail people out of police cells. People need to stand people bond. I can wrap my head around that because I know where bond should be paid should be at the court. So I mean, these are issues that the office of the ombudsman need to stand toward, though it falls directly in the court. In the court's purview. But again, it talk about efficiency in government.
What falls in the court purview? The services are provided. Those who are in the court work for laboring people.
Okay.
They are accountable to laboring people. If you went to the court system and you cannot get a service in there, you need to take action. What are the action you can take? You can report to the ombudsman. You can go to your lawmaker and say, look, the court is not properly working today. One of the saddest institutions we have, for which laboring people needs to have a conversation to reform that, is the court system. If you follow cases that bordered around the fight for a country that's going to be transparent and accountable and our resources are going to be used well. Did you see how they are dealt with in the court system? Sometimes the government cases that they are provided sufficient evidence to actually convict the accused, and the accused walks away. You need a reform for that. Have you gone to the court and wanted to actually request for an assignment for a case and to being told to pay a grant? If you have that, then the court said for the court needs to be reformed. Have you gone to the court and then you be told to pay money for the sheriff or for the peace officer to take a letter for you? And sometimes the charge so hard, it means that the court needs reform. You just need that. Have you filed an action to the court and you do not know when you are going to have your first assignment in that court? It means the court needs reform. The courts will respond to the needs of laboring people. Right now, there's a change, and public interest cases should actually take precedent or should take priority. Over every other things. Cases that go there should be dealt with in efficient, effective manner that you are going to have a predictable outcome. If you cannot get a predictable outcome of the court system, it means the court needs to be reformed. And the laboring people got to start elevating the conversation. That the ombudsman have told you the court needs to be reformed. Can the ombudsman do that? No. The laboring people are those who have got to do that. Okay. Right? That we need to hold judges accountable. If you find a judge who is not doing the things I've got to do, you report them to us. So we'll be able to stop them for hearing.
Okay. 0770-573-477, 0770-573-477, or 0881-871-670, 0778-440-964 are the numbers you can dial right now, and you will be true to the lines. We are having a professional conversation, and I know Liberians, they like the everyday normal style of politicking. You come and just lambast government, say, yeah, government doing this, government doing that. In fact, the government, that's the kind of conversation we're used to. But we need to start getting used to having professional conversations like these, where people will come to talk about their sectors, different sectors will come, and that is something we intend to continue to do on that 0770-573-477, 0770-573-477, or 0881-871-670. While we await your comments, your calls, let's ask Councillor this question. It was lingering in my mind. Government is squeezed in terms of getting what they ought to get in order for service delivery. I see a lot of government officials poor service delivery. The productivity in government is very low. What is the office of the ombudsman doing about that? There's this spontaneous low productivity in the government cycle. What is the ombudsman doing about that?
So let's start with the office of the ombudsman. the ombudsman office is not effective. We are not efficient. We have that as well.
Okay.
Why do we have that problem? It might probably be the same, but we cannot be discussing problems. We're discussing
Solution.
solutions. Right? So what we have got to do as a country is to just use the resources we have for the betterment, whatever you have. Don't complain and say, well, I need to have, for example, 2 million, but now the government gave me, say, half of that as a result, I cannot work. Use what you have and try to be effective and efficient at that. That's what we are actually striving to do, right? But today, are we effective and efficient? The answer is no. We are not effective and efficient. Cases that come before us, they are stay for so long. And there are problems with that. One, we did not even have computers, we did not have an office space. Which is that what Labrador people want to hear? They don't want that. Labrador people have waited so long to have the office of ombudsman. So the ombudsman should be doing the work they have got to do, right? We cannot be crying to say, look, the government gave me 750,000, so I cannot do the work. No, we should make sense with that. We should use that money for the betterment of Liberian people. We are starving up. We are hoping that in the next 1 month or so, will be faster in responding to our customers, right? In more responsive ways that our services can be graded. As of now, if you grade our services at the Ombudsman office, they are poor services we have there. And so we have to first work on ourselves. Now, we cannot say because we are a new institution, so we need to be considered in a special way, right? No. Once we are an entity that is being developed, we need to actually start our development with speed. We cannot be lazy, all right? We need to work harder. And so we are striving to do that. And so I have encouraged other entities that have got a lot of resources, personnel, experience, skill set, to step on the thing. And they should start crying about a reduction in budget. They should use what they have. Now, no matter how the government reduces the operational budget, mostly the government does not reduce the salary. So you make the same salary, and mean you have got to do the same job. We need to use what we have to make our services to be effective and efficient. There was a press release we came up with that was like yesterday.
Yes, so that's also
Right. And we're actually talking about service delivery. Service delivery across a government is generally not good, poor. It's poor. And we who are in government, we should actually admit that we are actually poor in some of the services that we provide, and so we can actually enhance the services that we provide. All right, and instead of providing quality service, the ombudsman office should actually start. I think we should actually be leading and telling people, look, we are doing good because if they report a matter to us, it will take this time in order to get an outcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
We should not delay matter before us for just so long, right? And by doing that, it means we now have the moral ground in order to monitor the effectiveness and efficiency of other entities, right? So we are working on ourselves, right? But in the meantime, while we are working on ourselves, we are telling other government entities that got the skill set, that got the necessary resources, please improve your service.
The code of conduct has been some time point criticized by citizens, and since the establishment of the Ombudsman, how effective are we now? How can we interpret that to the Liberian people?
Well, you shouldn't be asking me to grade myself. It might be a good thing you ask. Yeah, you ask order to grade what we are doing. But I can tell you, we are in startup, right? I just told you have a website that's been developed. We are getting out. The president, we're not in the budget for 2024. The president gave us a grant. The president also gave us a grant, and with that grant, the president provided $3,500 to the ombudsman and to buy vehicles. So we used $3,500 in order to buy 4 vehicles. Those 4 vehicles are now actually functional, right? So the mobility has actually increased as compared to last year. We did not have personnel most of last year. We just put for, we are requesting for a certain application of a position such as hearing officer. We are getting hearing officer. We are getting an investigator. So the folks are going to be coming in. We are hoping that they are going to be on payroll uh, by next month. So then that will actually be for now. Grading, being a teacher, where are we today? If you were to say 5 is a higher point, I think the ombudsman office actually at 1.
Okay. Council, we don't have much of time. We just want you to wrap up in a minute. Tell us in the coming days what would we expect from the Office of the Ombudsman in terms of working on some of the things that you have already planned to work on in terms of service delivery in government.
Well, we will be putting on our website our service delivery charter
Okay.
as being mandated by the president office. We're going to do that. And we are going to have a workshop to be training our staff in various skill sets in terms of case intake and case management. And what we tell the general public is that this is time for you to change. We want you to change. Now, how can you commence the changing process wherever you are, whatever profession you are in? If you were to go home today, or if you are home already, sit in your corner, right, and just think, have I done wrong against the country? If your answer is yes to yourself, pray hard. Once you have prayed, you come back and say, look, I'm not going to do wrong anymore in the country. I must follow the rules in the country. We must deliberately change. We should change from doing the wrong things to doing things for the country. We must love this country because all we have got to do, they got to be in the public interest. We should all work in the public interest.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Kangar, for reaching out to us here at Cllr Radio as we discuss issues regarding the Office of the Ombudsman. Of course, it's exactly 10 minutes to 6 o'clock. The news team will come in shortly to set up for their news. We just want to say thank you. Calvin, conclude from your end.
Yeah, let me say thanks to Councillor Kangar for honoring our invitation today. We like to say thank you, and we hope to see you another time to discuss to go more into the conversation. Thank you so much, Librarians. Keep following and remain blessed.
Okay, so again, it is a wonderful time being here. Tomorrow is another day. Yeah, I know you get used to all of the normal politicking. You are not used to professional conversations. But yeah, we were having professional conversation with Councillor Finley Kanga, the head of the Office of the Ombudsman. Tomorrow is another day. Folks will be on Friday for the weekend's edition of the program Inside Liberia.